Today, I'm going to be covering how Speedrunners completely broke Tears of the Kingdom in less than 2 months after the game's launch. When I last covered this about a month ago, the world record was an hour. Now, it is under 45 minutes. Crazy glitches, skips, and routes have completely changed. So I really hope you enjoy. And please, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel because a huge portion of you that watch these videos are not actually subscribed. So I really appreciate that. But with that being said, let's get right into the video. So for this run to start getting crazy, trust me, you don't have way more than 10 seconds. Instead of doing the intended intro sequence of the game, this is where the glitches start. So we're going to jump up on top of this little stone, and then you're going to have to do a super precise lineup where Link's head is. And then if you're at the correct position, but just before making a jump, you will actually clip through the collision of the ceiling, and you're now out of bounds. Now here we have two objectives. Make it to the end as quickly as possible and avoid all of the cutscene triggers. So that means you have to do some kind of weird movement. Like sometimes you will see us, for example, right now, doing jump slashes to extend our jump to get on top of this ledge, just because that corridor has a cutscene trigger with Zelda. By doing all this out of bounds movement, you can then basically just backflip and do mid-air jump flashes to extend your jump to reach all the way to the end where the cutscene trigger for the first, or the final, I should say, cutscene of the intro section starts. And that saves about 1 minute already. So yeah, if you thought this run was gonna get crazy, yeah, just you wait. All right, so now we're on the Sky Island. If you watched my last video, this is going to be completely different because we completely broke the Sky Island. So what the old route used to do is do like what a intended route would be, which would be run around the rooms, you know, open the panels and all that sort of stuff. Now, everything is completely changed. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to break these two barriers right here, and we're going to run up to the right. Normally, we go to the center of this room to activate a terminal, but what we're going to do instead is go to the very right side of this room, line it up with a very precise angle and position, and do this crazy jump. Now, it might not look crazy when it's playing at full speed, but I'll show you a little side view right now of how far away this jump is. So the idea is to jump from that cog all the way into that corner, which is not even higher above where you're standing, but also very far away. And that not only lets you skip the main terminal that's supposed to be opening up, which takes like a solid almost like 1 minute cutscene, and then running down through all of the kind of tutorial hoops, but on top of that as well, by clipping out of this place early, we cannot activate the recall shrine yet. However, what we can do is we can run up on top of this island. And at the very top of this island, there's actually 3 wings, which is incredibly powerful when it comes to the speedrun itself. So now we drop down to the surface right here to the first platform. We're gonna do what you would basically normally expect in the route, which is run forward, talk to the construct, and then get the Purapad. So now after getting the Purapad, you will look to the left towards Temple of Time, you will initiate a sprint, drop a wing at a very precise time, and then get on it as it's falling off of the ledge. Now, this is used for 2 things. Number 1, by standing on top of a wing, you can actually duplicate more wings in your inventory by holding them in your hand, and then you're simply pressing the sort button and the cancel at the same time. And this will allow us to get over 10 wings, which is all we really need for this route. After that, we're going to fly all the way to Temple of Time, and then we're going to turn around and drop a second wing, and then activate the cutscene. You might be wondering why we're doing this. Well, we're actually abusing a very interesting mechanic in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. So after this, you're going to see that we're going to jump down, we're going to void out, but we'll actually respawn back by the construct. Why is that? Well, that's because since we only stood on top of a wing and never actually stood on the ground, when we void out, the game goes, what was the last standable ground that he was on? And it's going to see, oh, it was up by the construct, put him over there, even though we were by the Temple of Time. So that saves a huge amount of time in terms of the routing, because then we can just, as you see on the footage, run to the right, drop 2 more wings, and now we can fly into this cave, and we're basically 30 seconds away from the Ascent Shrine. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to make sure to pick up a bunch of bomb flowers in this area. This is kind of a straightforward area. There's not much to explain. Basically, run through this one cave, pick up 4 bomb flowers, then pick up a shield with a flame emitter on it. And then what we're going to be doing is basically just climb this kind of like tree root / vine on the side, walk up to the shrine, activate it, and then you can just enter it. Now, for this ride, there's really nothing to explain. Just run up, ascend through a bunch of platforms, get to the end, get the light orb, and it's basically done. There's not a single really speedrun trick to this shrine at all. But before we get further into this video, a quick word from today's sponsor. Do you know what I like to do? Going fast. Unfortunately, when it comes to food, usually fast means fast food, which is not that great for you. Which is why I'm super happy to announce today's sponsor of this video, which is Factor 75. Now, services like this has been an absolute lifesaver ever since I moved to the States. Not only did I start gaining weight when I started eating fast food all the time, but also it's just kind of bland and boring. I'm going to be honest. After a few times a week of eating fast food, it sucks. Factor 75 though, got you covered. Here you have over 27 meal options each week, and it fits all styles. They have keto, they have calorie smart, they have vegan and vegetarian options, so it's a great thing for everyone. And as somebody who doesn't have too much free time, because let's be honest, I want to put that into video games, this is just amazing. And best of all, if you click the link in the description of this video or use the promo code on screen right now at factor75.com, you will get 50% off your first box. Honestly, such an incredible deal. It really helps my channel out a lot, and I really appreciate the support. Thank you so much, Factor75, for sponsoring this video. Now, when we get out of the shrine, this is the first and probably biggest controversial part of the new any% speedrun. The community did decide to allow the use of amiibos. So, unfortunately, we have to rely on RNG, and that's what I hate the most about this amiibo route. Basically, there's a luck chance to get a Fleet Lotus, and if you don't get it, you have to scan another amiibo and another amiibo. So I've lost plenty of runs to not getting this Fleet Lotus. In this specific recording, though, I got it first try. Then I'm going to go to this ledge. I'm going to buffer when he starts to remove his shield in midair, and then I'm going to drop the wing, because otherwise it will not let you actually take out the wing. Then I'm going to do a shield jump on top of this platform in a very specific spot when the wing is angled downwards. And in midair, I'm going to hold these two items and then press the sort button and basically close the inventory at the same time. And that is going to be duplicating this item. Now, I didn't mention this earlier. I probably should, just in case you're wondering. Speedruns in this game are mostly done on version 1.0. There are categories if you want to speedrun this game and don't have the older patches. However, a lot of the runners, and currently the world record, is done on version 1.0. But there are subcategories, so you can run latest patch if you would like. You're also going to see right here something strange, which is that we actually talked to this NPC to get an energy cell. Now, believe it or not, we don't actually use the energy cell at any point in this run. Nintendo wanted to make sure that you could not sequence break because of how many flags they have, that if you do not pick up one manually from one of the robots around the Sky Island, it will just give it to you after beating one of the shrines later on. And that cutscene is a lot longer than talking to the NPC, which is why we get it that way. But anyways, after we go into this cave, we're going to basically pick up this ruby and we're going to duplicate it, because the ruby is going to be used for later. And also we're going to duplicate a few more of their Fleet Lotuses, because you want a total of 10 Fleet Lotuses so that you're able to basically get speed up food. Because with 5 Fleet Lotuses, you get 5 minutes of 3x speed up food, which gives you about 1.5 times running speed. Then right here, you have to do something very precise. You have to throw this ruby, but then you have to make sure that you walk in a super specific way on and off of this platform, because there's an NPC right next to where we are right now. And if you don't do this exact steps I just did, which seems like whatever, kind of an easy detail to miss, it will actually say you can't cook right here because there is an NPC nearby or an enemy nearby. So by having those very specific movement right there, it lets you cook without having to deal with the NPC. So then we're going to cook twice, we're going to get 2 speed foods, we're going to activate it, and then we're going to run up to the next shrine. And this was where, in my opinion, the Sky Island starts to get very, very, very interesting. Now, for the Fuse Shrine itself, it is pretty straightforward, but there are a few cool new techniques that actually have been implemented that I think is really sick with movement that you might not have seen before. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to, fuse the rock and get to this first part. Then we're going to stand above this water right here and duplicate the bombs, because if you duplicate bombs above normal ground, they will just explode and kill you. So you want to make sure you do it above some source of water. And then after duplicating all of the bombs right here, we're then going to do this really cool technique. So we're going to pick up this bow right here, then we're going to pick up the arrows, and we're going to shoot the chest with an arrow shot, but actually fuse it with a bomb instead of fire. And if you set it up perfectly, the chest is going to bounce forward and actually land right up next to the bombs. And then you're going to fuse the bomb as you're running away from it, and you're going to wait for this door. And then after the door opens, you're going to do this really cool jump where you're going to do a shield jump with the bomb, which is going to shoot you up in the air, land you on this platform, and then jump down. And that just saves a couple of seconds not having to climb the ladder. Then you watch the cutscene, you run up, get the orb, and now we're finally done with the second shrine and ready to get into the really cool movement. So now you're going to see the absolute incredible optimization that is early speed food with Amiibo route and early wings route. So what we're immediately going to do is we're going to drop a bomb and we're going to fuse it to our shield. And this might look simple, but trust me, it's very precise. You're going to want to land with your shield jump with this bomb at a very specific part of the slope. So you're not getting height, but you're getting forward momentum. Because then you can, if you time it perfectly, and you also have to angle up the camera well, you can land and drop a wing in midair while you are shield jumping, so you can skip this lake. And then while you're standing on it for even more optimization, you will fuse another bomb to your shield. You're then going to run up to this corner right here. You're going to do a shield jump, and then you can get up this ledge instantly. Instead of removing the shield, you actually enter a dive animation to get forward momentum. You then run up this slope. Then you go up on the right here. At this point, you're probably completely lost where we are. We're going to do another shield jump with a bomb, take away the shield in the middle of the air to not do a climb up animation to get up on this platform. We're going to fuse another bomb to our shield, run up here, and then make sure to land on the slope of these staircases so we can take out another wing. And now this wing can actually take us all the way to the Ultra Hand Shrine, just like that. So instead of this slow running, instead of, like using a wing and using 2-3 fuses, we can just so quickly get here. It's absolutely incredible. And then to get up to the shrine, you can just stand on the wing and in a very specific spot, use your bombs, climb up that ledge right there, and just make it all the way to the top. And then when we get to the top, you're going to go ahead and drop one of the wings, fuse it to the shield, and you're in. Now, I think this is one of the only sequences in the run that is actually exactly the same as the old route. If you watched my other video about how speedrunners beat Tears of the Kingdom in under an hour. So with speed up food, you can run jump across the first gap, run jump and use the shield jump to get across the second gap, and then just do a shield jump. And because you have the wing fused to your shield, you can actually gain more height than you normally would from a shield jump, which lets you get on top of this railing, and then you can just beat the shrine and you're basically done. Now, after the shrine is done, there is still some cool movement, but there's nothing really too crazy to go over, honestly. You run to the left, you drop a wing, jump on top of it, and then you basically just fly to Temple of Time, activate the cutscene to obtain recall, and warp back to the main area where you started on the Sky Island. You're going to run to the corner, you're going to ascend up, you're going to run to the recall shrine, and you're going to enter it. So pretty straightforward. Now, the Fuse Shrine used to be the most kind of casual shrine because you were on a timer with the clock heads that are moving, but this is actually one of the hardest shrines to do optimally now. Because what we figured out was that if you're running very quickly and you make this cycle very early on, you can actually ultra hand the clock heads and drag them together, fuse them, and then just complete the shrine. I don't know if any of you guys noticed that in your casual playthrough. I used recall for sure, but apparently you can just grab them so you can make the shrine way faster than we used to. And then after that, once again, it's a very simple route. Warp back to Temple of Time, run up, get a new heart, open the door, run to the end, give Zelda in the past the Decayed Master Sword, and now we're finally ready to leave the Sky Island. Now, if you watch the old route, you will know that we used to instead warp right here, go to an island where you could pick a couple of fairies, and then go and get a couple of steering sticks to clip out of bounds. Well, what if I were to tell you that a brand new glitch was recently found that lets you completely skip all of it, and it is absolutely incredible. So instead what we're going to do now, and you can obviously see, I think, why this route is so much faster. Instead of going away and going like 2-3 different things, what we're going to do instead is we're immediately just going to drop a wing, we're going to fly towards Hyrule Castle, and then while we're on it, because you have to wait for it anyways, you're going to duplicate these rubies, so you have at least around 30 of them. Once you've done this multiple times and you've duplicated enough to where you have 30 of them, right as it's about to disappear, we're going to run off of this and just fall to the ground. Now, you have to do quite a precise trick known as a fall damage cancel since you don't have fairies, or else you're going to die from this height. Basically, it's done by initiating a jump slash, and then in your jump slash animation, you want to open up the abilities tab. From there, you then want to, as the menu is closing, open up your shield inventory and change shields. And if you do all of that, Link is allowed to change his animations in a jump slash, which he normally isn't supposed to do, which lets you start a dive. And by starting a dive, the game is actually going to think that that's where you started falling from, if that makes sense. Now, once we're here at Hyrule Castle, we're actually not going to run to Hyrule Castle itself. We just want to be at the courtyard. So, we're going to jump down into this well. Now we're coming into the really difficult clip sections of this run. And this is the brand new glitch that is super cool. So, Remember earlier how I mentioned that you can basically trick the game into doing animations you're not supposed to by swapping your shields while you're in midair? But we're going to do the same exploit this time, but instead of just letting ourselves fall by doing a dive after we perform the glitch, we're instead going to take out the bow. Now this is actually going to let us continuously gain height, which is why the glitch is called infinite height glitch. So by doing that glitch at the very edge of a ceiling, you can actually clip inside of the ceiling, and then while you are a little bit inside of the ceiling, by performing a shield jump, Link will just pop right through the ceiling and clip out of bounds. Now, you might be wondering, why do we care about clipping out of bounds in this random well in the middle of a field? Well, that's because this specific area that we go out of bounds in is at a perfect spot when it comes to how the out-of-bounds geometry is. Because if you don't know, out-of-bounds geometry also has collision. So you can't just like clip back into bounds if you're out of bounds. But you can see by falling here that there's this perfect gap in the middle of the actual depths, which is to skip the depths and then fall straight down all the way to the very end of the game where the army fight takes place. And on top of that as well, not only is this incredibly fast because we don't have to overload our memory, getting steering sticks or anything like that, the ceiling above the army has a very faulty collision system. So by purposely landing at this edge and then taking fall damage by diving into it, Link will start kind of like, flopping around, kind of just being in a damaged animation. And that will just let him clip right through the ceiling that is solid, and then you can just fall all the way down. And then by performing another fall damage cancel, we can then enter the final army fight, and we are now ready to do the end of the game. Now, there's another technique that sped up this fight even faster. All 4 rows of the army only takes a minute and a half roughly, if done perfectly. Because what speedrunners found out is by opening up the recall inventory, you actually cancel the animation of throwing an object. So you can now throw a bazillion rubies, which has a huge damage and a huge radius, just over and over and over again instantly. By just taking out a ruby, throwing it, taking out recall, and performing that over and over again. The only things that's important to note is a few items we're going to pick up. From the first row here, we're going to pick up a black boss bokoblin horn. In the second phase, we're going to pick up a royal weapon and then a black horn. And that is going to be used for fusing later on. Now, after you've killed the 4 rows, this is where the run gets into glitch territory again. So normally, you would have to fight 5 different bosses here since we didn't do any of the dungeons in this run. And in the old route, you would have overload with steering sticks to try and skip this. But since we don't have that anymore, we're going to have to get very creative. So I'm going to run to the very edge of this arena. I'm then going to climb down here at the edge, where below me is like a void out area. You do not normally want to be here. Like, there's nothing here. But by doing a very precise lineup on this wall right here, I can then jump off of the ledge and enter bullet time mode and then do infinite jumps in midair to get to the edge that's right above Link's head. And then by doing the same thing as it did in the tunnel, by perfectly timing a frame-perfect jump, I can clip through, perform a shield jump, and then I am out of bounds and now underneath the actual fighting arena. However, unlike the other method, which just went straight to like the goo barrier, whatever you want to call it, that kind of leads over to Ganon, we are just underneath the arena right now on glitchy collision with camera trying to fight us and everything. So we're not actually back into bounds. So we're going to have to do a second one of these right now by doing a very precise setup. I personally have my own little setup right here to make this more consistent because the camera likes to get stuck everywhere, as you can see. So I try and line my foot up with this little texture here. I like to zoom in with my camera on a far away texture, do 3 backflips, and then I'm in position. So then even if my camera messes up, I don't have to worry because I know that I'm in the right spot. So then you're going to once again perform infinite jumps, gain heights, you're at the ceiling. Then once you clip through, perform a shield jump, and now you are through. That's it. You are good to go. But there's just one last issue. Our equipment sucks. We don't have good diamonds, we don't have good weapons, we didn't kill like a liner or anything like that. So what we're gonna do is we're going to drop the black horn and we're gonna fuse it to our royal weapon. And now we're gonna perform a glitch known as Zuggle. Now, if you don't know what Zuggle is, in a simple explanation, you're basically causing a desync in between your inventory and the overworld. by the inventory thinking that you're dropping the weapon, but the overworld is not actually removing the weapon from your inventory, which is causing the game to continuously re-equip your weapon over and over again, even though it was never unequipped in the first place, which will result in you holding multiple weapons at the same time. So in this specific route, we're going to have basically the equivalent of 5 of these like boss stabby stab weapons, as I like to call them, at the same time. And by just doing those 5 ones, it takes less than 1 minute and it doesn't overload the inventory at all. You don't have to worry about anything. Now we can one cycle every single one of the 3 fights with Ganon. You can see 1 flurry rush and he's down. For second phase, 1 flurry rush and he's down. Third phase, 1 flurry rush and he's done. It's that simple. Now, believe it or not, you might think that this is kind of GG. We just have a dragon fight left. It feels like an auto-scroller to most casuals. No, this is actually the hardest part of the run, because speedrunners have figured out a way to be able to perform a 2 cycle in this fight, and it is the hardest thing ever, since normally he's supposed to fly away after you've only dealt damage to him 1 time. So first, we're going to drop all of our Zoggled items so it doesn't cause us issues. We're then going to slash this eye 4 times, run off, and then as it bounces off, perform a dive animation. At the perfect time, drop a wing, land on the wing, and this might look easy, but trust me, if you try it, it's so difficult. It is so difficult, and there's invisible winds trying to push you everywhere, so you have to learn where they are. And then you fuse the lizard horn as well. You then slash this eye 3 times, and then drop down. Now, here, I was a little bit slow, so unfortunately, I can't make the cycle for the 2 cycles, so I'm actually going for a 3 cycle strat. But I'm going to show some footage on screen of how the 2 cycle would look like, because it goes the same way up until you've done the 3rd horn. So if you do the first 2 perfectly, the first 2 eyes, once you drop down to do the 3rd eye, you're going to see that what I'm going to do in my VOD is just kill the 3rd eye and then jump off and then do the same thing for the 4th eye. But a top level speedrunner like Gymnast, for example, he is able to do the same kind of dive trick to land on a wing and then fly straight away to the 4th eye, meaning that everything is done in 2 cycles. It's incredibly fast. And what we also figured out is at first we thought that these dragons were completely RNG, but they're actually cycle based, meaning that if you perform this fight perfectly, there's no RNG in it. The only luck that comes into this fight for a speedrunner is if you mess up, because if you mess up so you're slow, then you don't know where that specific dragon path is going to result in terms of where it goes, etc. But if done perfectly every time, and like you see here, I do a 3 cycle strat, I can consistently always end up above it, which is very important. As a casual, you don't have to worry about this because you have a paraglider, but we have to make sure that our dragon patterns are perfect so that we always end up with Zelda right above the eye, because otherwise we're just screwed. We don't have anything to go around. But then after all of that, we can just flap to the top, get above the dragon head, jump down, do the final 3 hits, and then GG. That's the run. Save Zelda, save Hyrule, and that is officially a speedrun of the newest route for Tears of the Kingdom. Absolutely incredible. If you are curious, by the way, the current world record for this run, right now as it sits, is 44 minutes and 48 seconds. That means that speedrunners can now beat this game in under 45 minutes, which is just absolutely crazy. So that's the run. But either way, I really hope you enjoyed this video nonetheless. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. And also, I recently picked up the speedrun for myself. I have a 50-minute time, so not a record yet, but I'm getting there. I recently picked it up. So if you want to watch these runs live, by the way, then definitely check me out at twitch.tv/Linkus7. But with that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate that. I wish you all a fantastic rest of your day/evening, and I will see you all in the next one. Later, everybody. Bye-bye.